Grief can crush you, but betrayal cuts deeper. Imagine mourning the man you loved, only to discover he was living a double life, and the person he betrayed you with was your own sister. That nightmare became my reality the day my husband's coffin was lowered into the ground. I thought I'd lost everything, but soon, my sister dropped a bombshell. Her son wasn't just her child, he was also my late husband's. To make things worse, she had his will, and she was ready to use it against me. Life with my husband felt like something out of a quiet dream. We weren't rich, but we had a comfortable home, a daily rhythm built on laughter, shared meals, and plans for the future. He had a way of making me feel safe, like whatever storm might rage outside, inside our walls, I was protected. I never doubted his love, never thought to question the bond we had spent years building together. My sister was part of that world too. We'd always had a complicated relationship, close enough to share secrets, but with an undercurrent of rivalry that sometimes flared up in sharp words or cold silences. Still, she was my sister. Blood has a way of convincing you that forgiveness comes easily, that loyalty is automatic. I trusted her, just as I trusted my husband, believing they both had my best interests at heart. When my sister had her son, everyone celebrated. She told us his father was her long-term boyfriend, a man she never fully introduced but spoke of often enough to make him real in our imaginations. I never questioned it. Why would I? We bought gifts for the baby, took turns rocking him to sleep at family gatherings, and I even joked that my husband spoiled the boy more than he should. Looking back, those moments feel like cruel irony. At the time, though, it was all so ordinary, so safe. My life felt stable, grounded, until the foundation cracked wide open. It happened without warning, the kind of tragedy you never think will touch your life until it does. One moment my husband was full of energy, teasing me about burning the toast that morning, and the next he was gone, struck down by a sudden heart attack that doctors said came like a thief in the night. There was no time to say goodbye, no last words to hold on to. Just silence, and a hollow ache that swallowed me whole. The funeral felt unreal, as if I were walking through someone else's nightmare. I stood by his coffin, numb, hearing the murmur of prayers and the shuffle of feet, yet unable to process that the man I loved was lying there, motionless. Every hug from a family member felt like both comfort and reminder, squeezing the air from my lungs. People told me I was strong, that I'd get through this, but all I wanted was for him to walk back into the room and prove them wrong. My sister hovered nearby, offering tissues, her face a mask of sympathy. Yet something about her seemed off. Her eyes wouldn't meet mine for long, darting away as if she were holding back a secret. At the time, I brushed it off as grief. But looking back, I realized her unease wasn't sorrow, it was guilt already pressing down on her shoulders. A few days after the funeral, when the house was still heavy with silence and the scent of lilies, my sister came over. She carried a casserole dish like she always did in times of crisis, but her eyes were restless, darting around the room as though she was waiting for the right moment to speak. She hugged me, murmured hollow words about being here for me, but I could feel something coiled beneath her sympathy. Then she said it. Words so sharp they cut through my fog of grief. My son, he isn't just mine. He's your husband's child. The world tilted. I couldn't breathe. My mind reeled back through years of shared dinners, family outings, my husband cradling that boy with a smile that seemed so pure. She filled the silence with her excuses, saying it had started during a rough patch in my marriage, that she'd been weak and he'd offered comfort. She painted it like a mistake, but her eyes gleamed with a twisted pride, as if revealing the truth made her important. I wanted to scream, to deny it, but I was too stunned. My grief cracked open, and rage spilled out, mingling with disbelief until I could hardly tell which emotion was stronger. As if her confession weren't enough, she pulled out an envelope, my husband's will. Her voice trembled, but her hands were steady as she explained that he had left a portion of his assets, including property, specifically for her son. In that moment, I felt shattered, betrayed by the two people I trusted most. Yet beneath the devastation, a quiet ember sparked inside me, not forgiveness, not surrender, but something sharper. Resolve. When the truth spilled beyond the walls of my house, the family fractured like glass. Some relatives stared at my sister in shock, unable to believe she could betray me so cruelly. Others, though, hesitated, their silence like knives twisting in my back. A few even whispered that maybe my husband had only been trying to do the right thing, providing for the child he had secretly fathered. Their pitying glances felt like judgment, as though I had failed as a wife and sister. My sister leaned into that narrative. She spoke softly, with tears perfectly timed, claiming she had never asked for any of this, that he had pursued her, that the will proved he wanted to care for his true child. She crafted herself as the victim, the reluctant other woman caught in a storm she didn't choose. Her lies curled around the family like smoke, choking me. I withdrew, broken by the weight of loss and betrayal. There were moments I thought about surrendering, letting her have what she wanted, just to make the pain stop. But then, in the quiet of my empty house, I remembered the vows my husband once made, the promises he broke. I remembered the way he had sworn to protect me, to provide for me, and how easily he had given that away. That ember inside me flared again. I wasn't ready to crumble. Not yet. Something in me whispered, fight. I knew I couldn't face this alone, so I made an appointment with a lawyer, clutching the copy of the will like it was a weapon aimed at my chest. He studied it carefully, his brow furrowing, and finally said what I had been too numb to consider: it might not hold up in court. If it could be proven that my husband had been coerced, manipulated, or if the changes were made under questionable circumstances, then the entire document could be contested. For the first time since his death, I felt a flicker of hope. The lawyer also suggested a DNA test. If my sister's son truly was my husband's child, the proof would matter. But when I raised the idea, my sister bristled, dodging the request with flimsy excuses about protecting her son from unnecessary trauma. Her resistance only fueled my suspicions. So I started digging. Late nights turned into hours spent combing through financial statements, emails, and old text messages. The deeper I went, the uglier the picture became. Hotel receipts on weekends he claimed to be working late. A second phone number tucked away in an email thread. Payments slipped into my sister's account labeled as loans. And then the final blow, records showing the will had been altered just weeks before his death, with the majority of changes benefiting her son. My grief sharpened into anger. This wasn't weakness or a mistake, it was betrayal, calculated and deliberate. Filing the legal challenge felt like stepping onto a battlefield. My sister had expected me to fold, to drown quietly in my grief, but the moment she was served, the mask of sympathy she wore cracked. Her confidence faltered, though she quickly tried to regain it, telling anyone who would listen that I was a bitter widow trying to rob her child of what was rightfully his. I refused to let her version of the story take root. Piece by piece, I laid bare the truth to our extended family, the affair, the secret payments, the lies she spun for years. The scandal spread quickly, whispers turning into condemnation, and for the first time, she couldn't hide behind her crocodile tears. The DNA test was the turning point. It confirmed what she had claimed: her son was my husband's child. But it also unraveled her plan, because alongside that revelation came proof that the will had been tampered with, signed under suspicious circumstances, and altered in ways that favored her unfairly. In court, her credibility collapsed. The judge didn't see a grieving mother, he saw manipulation, secrecy, and greed. Through it all, I remained steady, even when my insides churned. I spoke with calm precision, backed by evidence, while she grew frantic, her lies unraveling with every question. By the end, much of the estate was preserved for me, as my husband had originally intended. She walked out with nothing but her shame, her reputation in tatters, and a son who would one day learn the truth. In the weeks after the verdict, the storm inside me finally began to quiet. Life didn't return to what it was, I knew it never could, but it slowly found a new rhythm. I mourned my husband in a different way now, not only for the man I lost but for the illusions he left behind. And I mourned my sister too, because in exposing her betrayal, I had lost her as family forever. Yet there was strength in that loss. For the first time since his death, I felt control returning to my life. I had stood up for myself, fought against the lies, and refused to let betrayal define me. That victory, though painful, was mine. I set boundaries like stone walls, cutting off all contact with my sister. She became a shadow in my past, no longer someone I owed loyalty or forgiveness. And slowly, I began the work of rebuilding my home, my sense of self, and my trust in the future. Betrayal nearly destroyed me, but justice gave me something greater, the strength to rise again. Betrayal leaves scars, but it also teaches us who we are when the world crumbles. My husband's secrets and my sister's cruelty tried to strip me of everything, yet I found the courage to fight back. The will may have been their weapon, but truth became mine. Now, I live free of lies, wiser and stronger, knowing justice was served. Sometimes revenge isn't about destruction, it's about reclaiming your dignity. And that is a legacy no betrayal can ever take away.